Zeno was a Hellenistic philosopher from Cyprus. He was the founder of the Stoic school of philosophy, which he taught in Athens from about 300 BC based on the moral ideas of the Cynics, which was the school of thought of ancient Greek philosophy. Stoicism focused on goodness and peace of mind gained from living a life of virtue in accordance with the nature. It proved very popular and flourished as one of the major schools of philosophy. These teachings of virtue, tolerance, and self-control is evidenced by the generations of figures and leaders. The name Stoicism came from the public colonnade where Zeno and his disciples gathered for discussion and teachings. Stoic means someone who remains calm under pressure, avoids emotional extremes, and has complete control over behavior. Stoicism was a philosophy that flourished in ancient Greece and Rome, which was popular with everyone from slaves to the aristocracy. When we think of someone brave, we call them Stoic. There are three great philosophers of Stoicism. The first is one of the most famous Roman writers, Seneca. When slaves were treated as property in Rome, Seneca called them for their human treatment and shared the same fundamental humanity. He also believed that only people who have cultivated virtue and self-control in themselves can bring positive change in others. Seneca wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage, but while Stoicism focuses on personal improvement, it is not completely self-centered philosophy." Another philosopher to be known as Rome's greatest emperor and influential Stoic was a kind human being, Marcus Aurelius. Over the course of his 19 years reign, Stoicism gave Marcus Aurelius the resolve to lead the empire through two major wars while dealing with the loss of many of his children. Centuries later, Marcus Aurelius' journal guided Nelson Mandela through his 27 years of imprisonment during struggle for racial equality in South Africa. Third philosopher was Epictetus, who was from the lowest class, the slaves. Being a slave, he has been the milestone for Stoicism with his philosophical thoughts and teachings. There are two major problems Stoicism can help us in particular: anxiety and anger. The first is anxiety. When feeling anxious about something, most people are maddening on saying, "Be okay, don't worry, cheer up," and many more things. In such case, Stoics suggest to take a different path to be calm. Seneca said, "Can you no longer see a road of freedom? It's right in front of you. You need only turn over your wrist to build up an impression of one's own resilience." Anger. Stoics say getting angry is not something you do by nature because of temper or somehow inherently hot-blooded, but it is the result of being stupid, of having the wrong ideas about life. Anger stems when misplaced hope smash the unforeseen reality. When a person stops to be angry, he learns the true fact of the misery of life. We should learn to reach a state where simply nothing can suddenly disturb our mind. Our mind is within us, which belongs to us and always should be influenced by oneself, not by the external force which tries to make an unusual impact. When someone offends you, pause and ask yourself whether you want to do similar things to others. Remember that you are not perfect either. It's not others' behavior that upsets you, it's your opinions about it. If a person calls you stupid, you will get angry, but you don't realize that if he calls you camel, you will still remain a man. It is how we receive the things. It is us who gets control over oneself. It is us to be away from anger. Thus, always respond to anger with compassion. Marcus Aurelius said, "So much worse are the consequences of anger than its causes. The best answer to anger is silence." Stoics do not imagine an ideal society. Rather, they try to deal with the world as it is while pursuing self-improvement with four cardinal virtues: wisdom, temperance, justice, and courage. Wisdom is knowing what is good or bad, and indifference. Wisdom is the ability which by itself is productive of human happiness. The knowledge of what is good and bad, the knowledge that produces happiness, the disposition by which we judge what is to be done and what is not to be done. The practical wisdom allows us to make logical decisions and sound judgments from our knowledge and experience. The reason we need to acquire wisdom is that most of our sufferings arise from our beliefs from past experiences. Temperance, moderation, self-control, and self-awareness. Seneca said, "You ask what is the proper limit to a person's wealth. First, having what is essential, and second, having what is enough." On the same topic of temperance, Epictetus said, "Curb your desire. Don't set your heart on so many things, and you will get what you need." Temperance is moderation, which means to avoid excess of extremes. Why to have desire of excessive things if minimal or available things satisfy and give happiness? The virtue of temperance relates to self-restraint, self-discipline, and self-control. It is us who should have total control with all our wisdom and courage. If we are self-aware, then we always tend to improve ourselves. We understand our situation, surroundings, and the path which is to be followed. Justice. It includes moral wisdom and impartiality, the state that distributes to each person according to what each deserves, the state on account of which its possessor chooses what appears to him to be just, the state underlying a law-abiding way of life, the state of obedience to the laws. Marcus Aurelius held justice as one of the highest importance of the four Stoic virtues. As a ruler, he was the most just of all Roman emperors before and after him. In a Stoic point of view, justice is the duty to our fellow men and our society. Justice is the virtue involving distribution, the state of distributing to each person according to what they deserve. It is the morality behind how we act and how we decide what is legal and just, especially in our community and the people in it. Courage. It includes bravery, greed, and resilience, the state of the soul which is unmoved by fear. Boldness is obedience to wisdom. Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." Courage is the state of standing strong and thinking correct in fearful and panic situations. Courage is not the elimination of fear, desire, or anxiety. Rather, it is deciding to act and taking steps despite our fear, passion, and anxiety. It is the virtue concerned with endurance and resilience while being in fear. Aristotle, a Greek philosopher and polymath during the classical period of ancient Greece, once said that the highest risk was death, and that the most courageous man was the one that acted fearlessly in the face of death. Thank you for watching.